guys, in this video I will teach you on how to create a simple application in Flutter. The name of application that we are going to create is BMI calculator. So let us start. So first we need to create a new project in Visual Studio. Click on Command Palette, choose Flutter New Project, then type the name of your project. So let us name our application as BMI calculator. Then select the directory you are going to save your project. For me, I'll choose Flutter project under Documents. Then select folder to create the project in. So let us wait while the resources are being loaded to our project. So let us try to run our newly created project. Click on Run without debugging, or just simply press F5 on your keyboard. So as you can see, the default project in Flutter application development using Visual Studio Code is this one. So let us try the application by pressing the floating action button. Okay, so it is running. So in our BMI calculator, we'll be starting from scratch. So let us remove all the codes of our first Flutter application or the template used in our project, and let us just retain this code. So as you can see, this is the main function of our main.dart. So in here, once we run our application, the main function will be executed first, and it will call the function run app, and then it will call the class my app. So we can change this class, we can change the name of this class. For example, let us change this with my BMI calculator app. Then we need to copy this one and replace this class. So let us create our class that extends stateless widget. Okay, so in here there is a missing overrides. So just click on Quick Fix, then create one missing overrides to automatically create the widget build context. Okay, we can remove this one, and then we'll be calling or returning the MaterialApp. So return, and let us call the MaterialApp class. And then semicolon. So the MaterialApp class has property, so let us call first the home property, and then call the Scaffold class. In Scaffold class, we can define the parts of our application. So first is the up bar. Up bar is the header part of our application. So up bar class, then call the title property, then type the title of the up bar. So I'll be calling the text component, so let us name it as BMI calculator. So text component is the same with label in other programming language. So if you want to just display a text, we'll be using the text component. And the next component is the body of your application. Since the application that we'll be creating is a dynamic one, we'll be creating again a class. So let us name it as BMI calculator. Then we'll be creating this BMI calculator class. So our BMI calculator will be extended in the subclass stateful widget. So in our BMI calculator that extends stateful widget, we'll be calling the create state function. So at override underscore compute BMI, then create state equal sign greater than underscore compute BMI. So we'll be creating this missing class. And this underscore compute BMI will be extended to state class. Then we'll be creating the missing override again, the build context. Okay, so there is no space here to remove the error. So our application is prepared. Then the first thing that we need to do is to create the components of our application. First, we'll be returning a container class. So container class is a layout used in Flutter. So let us put semicolon in here and remove the alignment. Then again, another layout. So we'll be calling another class, which is column. So child property. Then we'll be calling the column class. So in our column class, we have a property called children. So there are layouts that only accept one child, and there are also layouts that accept multiple components. So in here, the container will only accept one child class. For column, we'll be accepting multiple components or widgets. So as you can see, the column is inside of the container class. Now, our next thing that we need to do is to create our first component or widget, which is the text field. So in our BMI calculator, we need two text field, one for the height and another one for the weight, and another button and two labels or text property. So first, let us create the two text field. So to create a text field, we'll be calling the text field component or the text field class. Then another text field, so let us just copy, and then let us try to run our application to check the output. So here is the output of our project. So as we can see, there is a two text field here. So let us customize our text field. We'll be calling the property decoration, and then input decoration, and then under the input decoration class, there are properties like hint text. So in HTML, we call this placeholder. So for example, please input value, or please input weight value, and let us try our application by saving it or by clicking the hot reload. So in here, there is a hint text of our text field. So once we type data in our text field, the hint text will hide and will be replaced by the data we entered to the text field. So that's the use of the hint text. We can also add a permanent label of our text field by using the label text property of the text field. For example, please let's name it with weight. Let us try to save our application. So as we can see, there is a label at the top of our text field, weight. So another property of the text field is the suffix text. For example, in our weight, we'll be specifying that their input must be in kilogram. So we'll be placing a suffix text in our text field, and we'll be typing kg or kilogram. So let us place a comma here and save. So as you can see, there is a kilogram at the end of the text field. We can also add an icon of our text field. So we'll be using the suffix icon. Then to use the built-in icons of the MaterialApp or for the Flutter, we'll be calling the icon class, and inside of our icon class we'll be calling the icons that, for example, person. So in our example, I could not find icon that is related to kilogram, so for the meantime we'll be using the icons that person. So let us try to update our application by saving it. So I'll be pressing Ctrl S. Then as you can see, there is an icon here, okay, a person icon before the text field. And then we can change the color of the icon. So for example, we're changing it to colors that, for example, we'll be using the black, colors at black. Ctrl S. So as you can see, the color of the person icon was changed to black. Or we can also use gray. Then save. Okay, so the icon was replaced with gray color. Another thing is, since the input is number, so we'll be inputting a value for weight which is in kilograms, and that must be a number. So we can replace the on-screen keyboard by using the keyboard type property of the text field to avoid the user from entering invalid characters like letters or special characters. So I'll be using the keyboard type property, and then we'll be calling the text input type that number, then save. Okay, so as you can see, the on-screen keyword was replaced with numbers, comma, and period only, compared to our second text field, which allows the user to input letters and special characters. But for our weight text field, it was forced that the user will only input numbers. Okay, so that is our text field. Then for our next text field, we'll just be copying the data or the properties that we set to our first text field, and we'll just change this to height value, and for the label text we'll be changing it to height, and the suffix text is centimeter. Then let us try to save our application. So weight and the height. Next is we'll be creating another component or widget, which is a button. So at the end of the text field, we'll be adding a raise button. So let us change the null into open and close parentheses, and then open and close brace. Then we'll be adding a child property, and the label of our raise button is compute. And let's try to save our project. Then here we have a compute button here. So why did we change the null into open and close parentheses and open and close brace? Because if we keep it on, or if we keep the button or the on press property value into null, the button will be disabled. So to enable the button, we'll be using the open and close parentheses and then the open and close brace. Okay, so that's the difference. So you need to remove the null value, or you need to change the null value into open and close parentheses and open and close brace. So why do we need to do that? Because if we apply colors, background colors of this button, we will not be, or the button will not be updated to the color that we want to apply to our button. For example, we change the background into blue, the button will still be in gray mode, so, or in gray color. So we need to, or let us try to change the color of the button. So we'll be calling the color property, and then we will be calling the colors that, for example, blue. Then save. So the button becomes blue background. So again, if we try to replace the value of the on press to null, let's try it, then the color of the button is gray. So this will cause problem in your part because you've changed already into blue, there is no changes to our button because the button is disabled. So let us replace again to open close parentheses and open close brace. Okay, then save. Then we'll change the text color into colors that white. Okay, so we have a button here. Then next is we'll be creating a text component here. This will be used to display the result of our application. Okay, next is we need to add a padding in our application, because as you can see there is no padding on the left and right side of our application. So we'll be putting a padding here, left and right, even the top. So to do that, in our container class we'll be adding a property which is the padding. So we'll be using the edge insets, so we can use the all, or we can only use the, or we will just use the edge insets that only to specify the sides of our application. For example, on the left part of our application will be placing 16.0. Then try to save our application to update our application, comma, right, means the right side of our application, 16.0. So as you can see, the TextField move on the left and the right, so there is a padding 16.0 padding in the left side and the right side of application. Then we'll be adding padding on the top of our application. So let's place 8.0, so there is a space here. Then we can also add space between our two text fields by adding the divider class. So there is a space that separates them using the divider. Okay, so another is, what if you want to expand the width of the button from left to right, so we need to occupy the whole width of your application. So to do that, you need to wrap your application with the row class or the row layout for the application to occupy the whole width of our main layout or the main container. Then save. So the button is on the left side of the layout. So if you want to occupy the width of the application, will be using the, so you need to wrap the raise button again into expanded. So as you can see, there is no expanded here, so you can just type it using the expanded class or the expanded layout. Then the raise button will be placed inside the child property of the expanded class. Then look, the button occupies, or the button adjusted to the width of the layout. So you can also add a divider between the height text field with the button. So just using the divider. Okay, so there are space between the two. So our design is already prepared or ready for the logic part of our BMI calculator. So what we need to do is our application will perform the computation of the BMI based on the input of the user, which is weight and the height of the person or the height of the user. Okay, so once the user type the weight, for example 75, and the height in centimeter is 170, then once you click the compute button, it will display the result in here. So the first thing that we need to do is to create a function that will be executed once the onPress property of the raise button was clicked by the user. So I'll be creating a function which is compute BMI, open and close. Then we'll be creating this function. We can do that by creating on the top of our underscore compute BMI. So void compute BMI, open and close, then open and close curly braces. So once you click the compute button, this will be executed. So the first thing that you need to do is to get the value of the text field. So the question is how to get the value of the text field. So you'll be using a controller property of the text field. So I'll be using a controller and we'll be naming it to text field or TF weight. Then at the top of our compute BMI class, or inside of the compute BMI class, will be creating or defining a text editing controller, and the TF weight value of the controller or the first controller, then equal sign initialize to text editing controller. So from that, we can manipulate the value of the text field or the first text field. Then for the next text field, I'll be defining again a controller, and then we'll name it to TF height. Then another controller, text editing controller, and we'll replace it with TF height. And for our text property, so we'll be declaring a variable which is output in here, string output is equal to empty, and then inside of our compute BMI, let's try our text field, first text field, if it's working. So for the output is equal to TF weight dot text. So the text editing controller serves as the identification of our text field. Okay, then semicolon. So to display this, we need to set the state of our, or we need to update the state of our application by calling the SetState function. And inside of the SetState function, we'll be placing the output is equal to TF weight.text, meaning to say that the value of the text field will be displayed inside, or will be displayed in text property. So we cannot see the text component here because there is no value of the text field. So for example, once we updated the value of the output, for example, the result will be displayed here. So we have a problem here. We still need to fix this by returning this statement. Okay. Now, as you can see, since the text component has a value, we can see the object or the component here. So by default, we need to set the value of the text component into empty. And let us update our application. So the application is already reloaded. Okay, so let us try our application. So the application should display the value of the weight into the text view or into the text component below the compute. Hold on. So compute. So the result is 10. Let us continue the application. So the formula for the BMI is equal to mass over height square, and for the mass or for the weight, it should be in kilogram, and for the height should be in centimeter. So let us define a variable that will hold the value for the weight. So let us try var weight, var height, then initialize the value of weight into the value of the text field. So tf weight dot text, then height is equal to tf height dot text semicolon, and then we'll be doing a formula. So we need to define a variable first that will hold the result of the weight and the height. So var BMI semicolon. So the formula will be BMI is equal to weight divided by height square. So how to create an exponent in our Flutter application? So we will be importing the math library. So math, dart math, and then height is, we'll be calling the function pow height, comma, then the exponent, which is to the power of 2. So we'll be multiplying itself the height value, then we'll be displaying the BMI value using the, or we'll be assigning the BMI to the value of the output. Okay, then try to type the height again. For example, or the weight is 75, then the height is 170 centimeters. Compute. So we'll be having a problem here. So let us check the error. So the following type error was thrown while handling a gesture. So the problem here is that you need to first convert the text value. So we define the weight variable into using var, so that means the weight variable is a dynamic one. And then we assign the value of the text property of the text field weight, which is a string data type. So that means the weight variable becomes a string, and we are performing a computation here. So let us first convert the data type of the tf weight dot text by doing this. So you can do that if the value is whole number, so we'll be using integer. But if you are using a double dot parse, so we'll be converting the tf weight dot text to double. So let us move that, and with tf weight dot text, and also for this we'll be copying the double dot parse, double dot parse, and tf again, and this BMI will be converted to string. Then reload. Okay, wait for the application to refresh. Okay, application already refreshed, so let's try again. 75, then the height is 170. Then let's compute. So the result is 0.002595. So in our formula, the height should be converted first into meters. Okay, so as you can see, the input here is centimeter, so you need to multiply this into 100 to get the, or to convert the centimeter to 100, or to convert the centimeter to meters. So let us try again by refreshing our application. Okay, wait to refresh the application. Okay, try again. So 75 and 170, then compute. So the result is 2.5951. So let us check the formula of the BMI. So in meters, so the result is 2.595155, and based on our reference here, the filipinodoctor.com, the conversion is, if your BMI is 16.0, then, or below 16.0, you are severely underweight, and from 16.0 to under 18.5, you are underweight, and then for the 18.5 to below 25 is equal to normal. That means 18.5 to 25, if your BMI falls between this range, then you are normal. But another is, if you are greater than 25 to below 30, you are overweight, and if your BMI is from 30 to below 35, you are obese. So in our result, you are underweight. Okay, so we have a big problem here. It shouldn't be asterisk, it should be divided by 100. So we are getting an error here because we have a problem in the conversion of the height. Instead of asterisk, we'll be using divide or division. So let us try again our application. Then let's try, wait for the application to refresh. So let us try another data here. So for example, my weight is 75 and my height is, for example, let's say I am 170. Then compute. So the result is 25.95. So based on our chart, or so based on our category, 25.5 is overweight. Okay, so let's try 70 to make our BMI normal. So the result is 24.22. So if your height is 170, your weight should be 70 or below. Let's try 60. So it's 20 point something, so it's still normal. So take note of that. If your height is 170, your weight should not be greater than 70 kilos. Okay, so we can also customize the data here by displaying your BMI is colon space then concatenation, so that you will know what is the meaning of this value. So let us try to compute. Okay, so the changes is not applied to our application, so we need to refresh. Or restart our application. Wait to load the updates of our application. So let's try again. So 60 kilograms and your height is 170 centimeter. So as you can see, your BMI is 20.76. Okay, so that is normal. So let us try to make our text bigger. So in our text component here, we'll be using the style colon, then the text style, and then we'll be calling we'll be using the font size property, and we'll be setting the value into 20.0. So as you can see, the text gets bigger. Okay, another is, what if you want to display the category of this BMI? So we'll be adding another text component below the text property, and this one will be changing this to category, and same size, but we'll be changing the color to colors that, for example, red. And then we'll be dividing a string category here. Okay, so string category is equal to empty semicolon. Then in our output, we'll be using a conditional statement inside of our SetState. Then BMI will be comparing based on our chart. If BMI is less than 16, then category is equal to severely underweight. Severely underweight. So severely underweight. Then else if, so I'll just copy this one. Else if less than 18.5, then we'll be displaying underweight. Then let's just copy this one, copy, So underweight. The next is if your body mass index is below 25, then you are normal. And the next is if your BMI is 30, below 30, you are overweight. And then if you are below 35, that means you are already obese. So let us try our application by restarting it. Wait for the application to reload. Okay, so let us try. For example, the weight of the user is 70 and his height is 170 also. Then the result is normal. So let us increase the weight of the person or the user. Let us try it with 80. So if the user has a weight of 80 and has a height of 170, his body mass index is 27.68 under the category of overweight. So once we decrease this one, for example, if your height is 170 and your only weight is 50, you are underweight since it is below 25 or below the 18.5. Okay, so that's all. I hope you've learned about our first application, which is the BMI calculator. So thank you for watching. See you on our next videos. Have a great day.